Yeah, and Gordon Ramsay creates this atmosphere with his very vocal attitude of pressure, right? He
Mhm.
puts these cooks under pressure and being able to have them feel confident in their cooking and believe in themselves. Because if there's pressure on and they truly do, you know, perform in the way that they say they perform, then it'll show within their cooking and they're going to perform under pressure. But a lot of people can't handle that pressure of having somebody that's going to tell them like, hey, you're messing up, fix what you're doing, or hey, this is how you do it. And I think, pressure makes diamonds.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Another week here at the Mindtality podcast. Here, where we like to bring in that positive energy to start off the week. It's a new week, you guys. It is currently March 8th, and we're excited to have you. We're excited for those who are tuning in. It is a privilege to be able for you guys to sit in and listen to what we have to say. I'm your host, Rodolfo Felix.
And co-host Eric Ogaz.
And like I said, we're here to bring you some positivity for the week, maybe at the workplace, at school, even at your home. So wherever it is, we're bringing that positivity to you. Quick reminder that you guys can reach out to us on Spotify. You can listen to the audio version on Spotify, on Google Play, on Apple Music. And then we also have the video here on YouTube. So there's that. Without further ado, Eric, how you been?
I've been doing great. I just wanted to first shout out my school, GCU, for winning their first WAC championship title. For the first time in GCU history, they have won the title in the WAC conference. For those of you who don't know, the WAC conference, it's just a basketball league or a set of teams that play in a league. But they won the championship title this last weekend.
Yeah, that's dope. Congratulations on that. What do you know what division you guys are?
Won.
Oh, nice.
Hmm.
Solid. So at the peak of the competition, huh?
Yeah,
That's what's up.
they're supposed to be going to Vegas I think determining whether or not they're gonna go into March Madness,
Oh, crazy. That would be insane. That'd be
right?
insane. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah. So I'm excited that I was able to kind of be there for that since we've also changed coach because we've had Dan Marley. I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Marley. He's a Phoenix Suns Hall of Famer. He was our coach for the longest time, and we had switched over to Drew. I can't remember his last name, but he was, I believe, Vanderbilt's old basketball coach. Um, but yeah, I mean, like it's really nice to be able to see from my freshman year to now as a senior, the progression of GCU basketball and how it's gotten better. And it's just really taking off now at this point. It's been on ESPN a couple of times, like the student section, and it gets wild. Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy. That is crazy. And that's how it starts, you know. You start when the teams start performing, you start signing bigger players who have like high attraction and high publicity coming out of high school. And that's how the schools grow, you know. They bring in the sporting events financing, and then the schools use that money to rebuild the school and to make it more professional and attractive.
Hmm.
But yeah, it starts with little wins like that for sure, 100%.
Hmm.
So that's cool. And that's men's basketball.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. And that's like you said, March Madness is super competitive. Um Gets a lot of publicity. So if you guys do make March Madness, even if you guys lose in the first round, the fact that you guys made it there, you basically putting your team on the map for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them progress through the years. But what about you? How have you been? What have you been up to?
I've been good. I've still working full time at the shelter. Um haven't quite uploaded my YouTube videos quite yet on the vlog channel, but definitely be getting back to that. Which leads to my first point, Mr. Eric Ogaz. My topic is basically Rodolfo's current obsessions, and I have two here. So the first one is TV series. As you guys know, um, I'm convinced that in 2021, there's no reason to not have something playing. At first, I was totally against it. I was like anti, like you don't always have to have something on. Take a break from technology. Well, changed my mind. If I'm brushing my teeth, my iPad's next to me. If I'm making breakfast, my iPad's next to me. If I'm in the garage working on something, my iPad's next to me. And what have I been watching again? Pawn Stars. It's a TV series. So for those who happen to care, Netflix offers seasons 2 through 13, I believe, and then Discovery Plus offers seasons 1 and 14. Why is it split up like that? I'm sure for marketing. I don't know. But yeah, so I've been super into that. I've been scary good on the bids. Sometimes I want to email Rick and be like, hey, you shouldn't have paid that. It's too steep. But no, that show's really fun for me. You get a little piece of our history and just the things that are brought in can be
hmm
very, very interesting sometimes. So yeah, that's what I've been up to, Eric.
Yeah, some of I've seen it Pawn Stars few times, but not a bunch. But I've seen some of the things that they brought in, and they're like, "Oh, this is a World War II relic," or "This is the first ever Coca-Cola." Like, how do you get a hold of these things?
I don't know. And the money that sometimes the appraisers value the items, I'm like, yo, this person just walked into like to a fortune. And some people just had it in their living room or in just
hmm
in their attic or garage. Sometimes I feel like they should just keep their item. Like
Yes.
I understand there's profit to be made, but just hold on to that's just me. Just hold on to it, you know?
Yeah, they would always give a bid though that you would think like, oh wow, it's a relic, it's authentic. They're gonna he's got to give him something a big price.
Hmm.
The best I could do is $5. Like,
Yeah,
like what?
yeah, yeah. That's true. Sometimes I feel like they do lowball the sellers. And then the other times too, I feel like they like I said earlier, they sometimes pay like I feel like sometimes too much. I'm like, look, I understand this has been no one's gonna pay that. You know, like, oh, you know what? Perfect. A bike from the 1900s. Okay, I'm gonna spend 7,500 and then I could sell it for 25,000. No one's gonna buy a bike for 25,000. Okay, listen, especially if it looks like that.
Yeah, I feel like you
I don't know.
instead of having to sell it in retail, you would have to find the particular buyer within the market. Like if there's a museum that does that, or collectors that take care of like I don't know, bikes from the 1900s, then you could sell it from there, not necessarily the pawn shop, you know?
Yeah, and I want to talk about how the fact that I was thinking about literally making a compilation of Rick saying I might just get it for myself, and I'm like, I'm like, what? Like, there's one episode where he bought like this destroyed helicopter. It was like in shambles, but it was in a pile. And the seller was like, look, it's easy to reassemble. This plane, this helicopter is like a mini one, like a two-seater. They're like, it's made to be destroyed and to be put back together, like the parts. And they're like, well, how much will it cost? They're like, 10,000 for the helicopter, maybe 100,000 to reassemble it, and you could sell it for 150,000. And Rick's like, yeah, I'll do it. So Rick pays the 10K, slides him the check. 3 weeks later, they reassembled the helicopter, brand new. It's put together. It's spanking new. 110,000 was invested. It would show you on the screen. And then again, the person who built the helicopter was like you can get an easy 150,000. And then at the end, Rick's like, cool, shakes his hand for the 110,000. And then it goes off to like the little interview screen with Rick, and he goes, yeah, quads is usually my hobby, but maybe this will be my new hobby. And I'm like, come on, my guy. You don't need a helicopter. And that's just one of like many things. He's like, yeah, I might just get it for myself. I'm like,
Wow, I
must be
wish.
nice. Must be
Yeah,
nice.
I was about to say, I wish I had the ability just to. Oh, I'll keep it for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. And not even sweat it. And
Yeah.
the money that they spend is just crazy. And it's just a pawn shop too. And I'm like, I wonder if pawn shops really do that well. But I would think so. I would think so.
I mean, you get a lot of shady people in pawn shops, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
If you're a law enforcement, that's like one of the number one places you go if you want to find
Mhm.
stolen objects.
Yeah, I did learn all through the TV show that there's a 30-day period. I don't know if it's just Nevada or all pawn shops, but there's actually a 30-day period. So let's say I sell them an antique, they have to put it into the quote unquote buy room for 30 days, and
Mm-hmm.
law enforcement has 30 days by law to investigate that item,
Mm-hmm.
to review it, and after the 30 days, they have a right to put it on the floor. So I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a screening process to it to prevent fraud and to prevent loss of, finances or whatever. But
Yes.
yeah, I thought that was cool.
I believe they have to have you give identification as well, so that if they want to check records to who had brought off that item,
Yes,
that
yes.
they can go ahead and reference that and kind of give
Hmm.
them contact. But um, that's cool though. Pawn Shop, it's a very interesting show. I know it really was big, but I don't know if it's, are they still making episodes?
I don't believe so. No, no, I do not believe so. I know like the season 14, Chumley and Big Hoss, the son,
Mm-hmm.
they're like super skinny, and like you could tell that they're a lot more mature than when the show first started, but I don't think they are running it anymore.
That's awesome though. I remember that was a good show for a long time. I've been actually stuck on Hell's Kitchen watching that. Have you seen that or heard of it?
Yes, House Kitchen, of course.
I've just recently seen it or heard about it, and so I've been addicted to watching it. And wow, I love it. I'm a big food critic. I want to go to culinary school maybe one of these days, just because that would be my chumly one of those things. Like, I might just do it, um, type of things. But yeah, I've been watching that and seeing some of the food that Gordon Ramsay and the kitchens make is amazing. Crazy how people can make such great food like that,
Yes,
you know?
sir. Yes, sir.
But what really I really like about the show is that it's like a real competition, and for those competitors to compete under that pressure and perfection is required, and everything else you can't like mess up. And it usually takes like, especially in the later rounds when there's only a few amount of people left, you can't make one mistake at all, or you're up for elimination like that, and then that's it, you lost your opportunity because you made a mistake. And it's just, I mean, very minute mistakes as well. So I just, that's the part I've been like gravitating towards and watching and thinking is very interesting.
Yeah, I think just off the top of my head, Eric, for me, I think like the most essential part of being a great cook is time management.
Mm-hmm.
The pressure is on not because the food has to come out a certain way, because they've made the food before, but what they can't really improvise with is time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like what a word I like to use and what I've heard is a microcosm of life, meaning like this lesson and principle of being a good cook isn't about so much the taste, but having the time to specifically give attention to certain parts of the meal in order to have a great meal. This could also transition into life. Like if you want great results, it starts with time management.
Mm-hmm. One of the biggest thing I was seeing a lot of competitors are getting eliminated is because they would get upset like over making a mistake, and then also not being able to take constructive criticism. Like Gordon Ramsay, he's very I guess you would say vocal with his
Yeah.
his words, which some people respond well to, and a lot of others do not respond well to. We kind of had that with our baseball coach, and
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was great. I think assertiveness is good when it comes to competition and trying to be a good leader. But there's also a fine line to that as well. But competitors were getting upset and they would eliminate themselves um, over making mistakes or not being able to take constructive criticism about that. How, I mean, like, let's break that down, because I think that we could talk about that a little bit about constructive criticism and being
Yeah.
able to take that.
Yeah, definitely. I think the number one thing, and I think it's the the key or the main, for a pun purpose, it's the main ingredient to being successful is when you want to learn and when you want to grow, you don't take criticism, positive or negative criticism, negatively. You receive it, you take the good, or you take the positive or the beneficial, whatever information that you received, and you apply it to your life, because you understand that the person who's giving you that criticism has more knowledge than you, or has something to offer you that you might not quite have yet.
Yeah, and Gordon Ramsay creates this atmosphere with his very vocal attitude of pressure, right? He
Mhm.
puts these cooks under pressure, and being able to have them feel confident in their cooking and believe in themselves. Because if there's pressure on and they truly do, you know, perform in the way that they say they perform, then it'll show within their cooking, and they're going to perform under pressure. But a lot of people can't handle that pressure of having somebody that's going to tell them like, hey, you're messing up, fix your what you're doing, or hey, this is how you do it. And I think, pressure makes diamonds, and I think
Yeah.
that that's one of the biggest things that I've kind of noticed, and I gained a lot of respect towards Gordon Ramsay when watching these competitions, is the type of mentality that he brings into the kitchen.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I might botch this lesson that I learned in social psychology. I maybe back in March, maybe exactly last year, the winter quarter. And the lesson was that when humans are being observed, they are naturally under pressure. Why? Is because they're concerned about other people's opinions. But the second part of the theory is that it's also been proven that if you continue to place yourself in that uncomfortable position under supervision, under like observation of someone else, like someone looking towards you while you're doing whatever you're doing, that the theory states that you will naturally grow out of that embarrassment, or out of that fear, out of that arena of pressure, and actually start thriving.
Hmm.
Like, you go from this level of making mistakes because someone's watching, or understanding that you're going to have to present it, to actually like having like this burst of encouragement, or this burst of motivation and confidence. Like, it goes from one side of the scale to like completely the other side of the scale. And I think that's why you see like people who just crumble under pressure, and then you see people who just excel under pressure, because that's the social psychology theory. Is, I'm not
Hmm.
sure exactly what it is, but that's what it states, is there's those two sides of the scale.
Yeah, and you can always earn or work your way to getting to that point where you are confident, you're able to perform under pressure. And then there's also those outliers that just naturally perform under
Hmm.
pressure. It's given in competition with a lot of people in the professional realm of sports. They just naturally perform some of the times, but other times there's people that have to really earn it. Like for example, public speaking is probably the biggest, I would say, hardest thing that people have to do or can't do, because they get nervous and they don't want to mess up in front of people. But public speaking is one of those things that if you continue to put yourself in public speaking situations, that the more and more you do it, the less and less it becomes difficult and nerve wracking. Like for me, when like I was telling you about that one time in my class, the professor is like, hey, so today's participation points, you're gonna have 10 to 30 minutes, look up an article, and then you're gonna come in front of the class and speak for 3 minutes. And for me, I've been used to that, like giving opening statements for my mock trial when I was in those situations. Like for me, when I went up there for that 3 minutes, it went by like that. And when I my preparation time was about 5 to 10 minutes, and the rest of the time it was just more or less me going over like it and just kind of relaxing. Like I didn't really feel pressured to try and memorize lines or feel pressured to memorize facts. It was more or less, I've done this before. Taken the time where I was uncomfortable in a situation to the point now where I'm really comfortable and I don't necessarily have to like worry about it.
Yeah. And the point that Eric and I are trying to make here is that for some people, it's very natural to get in there, to not be afraid, and maybe have butterflies, but still push forward. And then what we're also emphasizing here is that the key to reaching that level of comfortability is getting in there. You know, maybe you won't do it as often, but it's important that you do it here and there, and then you make that slow progression to continuously do it, whatever it is, public speaking, whatever it may be. But that's what we're trying to focus on, is like, in order to reach this level of, not like professionalism or anything, but just this level of comfortability in whatever it is, the key is doing it at a
Hmm.
small scale, make that progression. And I actually want to transition to one of my points that I had, and it's veteran presence at work and the benefits of it. So I had a staff meeting with my coworkers and my managers this past Friday. You know, today's Monday, so a few days ago. And at one point, my manager turned and looked over at me, and we had just hired 2 new staff, and one is actually like my assistant manager that we hired. So I will be like, I'll have more experience here at this facility than that person will, because they're a new hire. And then the other person is just a flat out new hire to this field, this of social work. And he turned to me in this mid meeting, and he was like, Rodolfo, you're one of the newest employees we have here, but that changes next week when we hire these 2 new employees. He goes, so he's like, just like that, you know, you went from a level of like rookie status to veteran status. And he goes, and as weird as it's gonna sound, I need you to understand that when it's just you and one of the new people here, you're in charge, like, because you know more. Um, he goes, so it's important for you to understand your status of veteranship, because they're gonna look up to you because you know how we run it here. And it wasn't like a moment of like gloating or anything, but I was understanding what he was saying. It's just um like experience you can't buy, you earn. And then when you have it, don't screw it up. And it's important to be ready when your time is called, because for all I know, 2 of my coworkers can quit, and there's usually 6 staff that we have hired all the time. So we were at 4, we were down 2. So we hired back to 2, we're at 6. Now if 2 more veterans quit, then I just went up the rank that much more. But I just wanted to talk about what I did is nothing. I just kept working there. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to get at here.
Hmm.
My point is just like me just being consistent um granted me this veteran status, and now I have 2 people to kind of look over.
Yeah, what stood out to me when you were telling me about that, is like when your manager had told you and sat down and your reaction to it. Like it wasn't like, oh, hey, I made it, I look at me, I'm not gloating about it. It was like, okay, now that I've got this, I need to work harder. I need to do more now that I'm in this position of it, trusting and having that ability to be that veteran presence. It's not like, okay, now that I made it, we're gonna tick back on the throttle and go on cruise control. You need to actually go further into trying to fill into those shoes. And you got there for working hard for a reason. So it's only right to continue working hard to continue to grow.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna let up at all. I just it was shocking because I understand we were hiring, like, as I was working with my manager one shift, he was actually doing interviews during our shift. And so I knew we were hiring people. It just didn't click because we had hired someone, and that person didn't last a week. And so I was excited because I was like, yes, I'm finally not the rookie anymore. And and then it slipped my mind that that he started the hiring process again. And then now we got 2 people. So it kind of like a moment's realization, is just like boom, just like that. Because we actually had 2 people that are leaving, veterans. They've been with the company for over 6 years, or no, one's been over the company for over 6 years, another one's been with the company for almost 2 years, and the turnover rate's 2 years. So those are anything at a year to 2 years, you're at veteran status for sure. So 2 people are leaving, crucial people are leaving, and just like that, I just jumped up the ladder. But I was like, yeah, this doesn't mean anything though. I still got to show up to work. I still have to be humble. I still have to do
Hmm.
my part and help out, any way I can. Show them the tricks and tips of how to best run a shift, especially with dealing with teenagers.
Hmm. I was about to say, when you switch to that veteran status, I mean, I don't know how it was, or if you had the opportunity to do that yet, but um, like when I switched from as an attorney to coaching for my mock trial, you need to switch your mindset. It's not necessarily like a work mindset. You still
Hmm.
have that work mindset, but you got to think of bigger picture at that point. You got to think of other people's abilities and what they can do and how they want to achieve it, and be able to work with that, and having to manage a group of people sometimes with that. So I'm just talking about the switch of mentality when you're in
Yeah.
that position, right? Because you're no longer that person that's depending on somebody, but you're being dependent on.
That's a great point, and I'm on the same page with you. It's like you're no longer, you are, but you're not. You're no longer in that receiving mentality, but you're more in that giving mentality, where you want to prepare them. You want to give them the tools that they need in order to not survive, but to maintain composure during the shift, to maintain what's the word, structure. And so I was already thinking like, okay, what are some tips that I could give them that I learned through experience that they could definitely dodge, just from listening to me. But yeah, so I definitely understand what you're talking about. You move from that receiving mentality to that giving mentality, and you kind of learn how to maneuver, like, okay, what's their strengths, what's their weaknesses, and kind of things that like the do's and don'ts of
Hmm.
working in this field. So quick question here, Eric. As you know, spring training is back for MLB, Major League Baseball, and I have some questions for you. So, how do you feel with fans returning to stadiums this year?
I like it. I think that we need to start having fans are going to be able to socialize. I think I was always a big believer in sports is what unites people.
Hmm.
Sports is one of those things in the world that brings people together, whether or not you're different ethnicity, different religion, different age, different size, whatever it might be. I always believe that if you had a sports jersey on that was similar, you're like,
Yeah,
you're
you
buddies,
connect.
you
Yeah.
connect, you root for the same team. And so I'm reluctant to say, like let's just open everything up. But at the
Hmm.
same time, I feel as sports is one of those big things that we need to make exceptions for, or find ways to make it happen because of how well it unites people and it brings together. To me, I think sports is the glue to the United States, or even just the world in general.
Yeah, excellent point. And I'm at that point, Eric, where I just feel like we need to start normalizing social gathering again. You have to understand that we survived this long because our immune systems have fought this hard, and so we don't want to short circuit our immune system. Um, and I'm not a what's the word here, a kinesiologist or a health expert, so no one bashed me for that. But my second point here, because this is a two-part, but the second question is, how do you feel about um the introduction of in-person events, sporting events, theme parks, amusement parks, compared to pregnant women still having to deliver with only one person in the room and to be the only person to do doctor visits?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar. We were just talking about this as well with graduation. Like, we were going from no people being able to attend graduation to now two people.
Hmm.
Um, I, you know, I understand like the overall safety is more important of the baby, especially with COVID. I don't know like how well it affects babies. Like I said, I'm not any knowledge in the health field. I don't know anything about COVID and how it affects people, or even just in other medical terminology. But I definitely think that at least in the delivery room, it might be better to keep people out. But we should start integrating, uh, I guess, like gatherings and things like that.
Yeah, that's how I feel, man. As fun as it was, watching the UFC pay-per-view this weekend on Saturday. It was fun, but man, it's just not the same when you don't have one strangers that you don't know. Like, kind of again, you're rooting for the same person, you feel connected with them, or even like family members and friends with you. You know, it's just different. It was just me and my fiance's dad. It was just us two, and he's not really a sports person, so he would pop into the living room um every like 4 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe like the last round of that fight. And it was just me sitting in the living room by myself. As depressing as that sounds, it's just, to me, I just don't I understand the trouble, or the what's the word, the risk, I meant to say. I understand the risk of social gathering and all that,
Mhm,
but just deep down inside of me, you have to understand that our immune systems have to learn how to fight naturally. That's part of why I don't want to take the vaccine yet.
mhm,
I am essential worker because I work with homeless youth and troubled youth. My facility's open 24/7, so we're definitely essential. And we had opportunities almost months ago, like when the vaccines first rolled out, to get the vaccines, and I didn't want to because deep down inside I feel like I'm short circuiting my body, and truth be told, my parents never really did vaccines, only if it was required to attend school or something. And so
mhm,
for me, it's deep down inside, I feel like we do need to start normalizing. I just don't feel like COVID's that dominant and destructive, but then again, I'm not a health specialist, so that
mhm.
opinion's rightfully mine.
Yeah, and I've seen the other spectrum of it. Like my family's gone through a hard times with it, some with COVID, but at the same time, I still think that it needs to be um we need to progressively get back into getting normalized because we're social creatures. We're creatures of uh, being able to go out and communicate with each other. We're not built for isolation and being inside all day. As much as we have to kind of work around that and make adaptations, I don't think that we can continue to do this and be able to keep the economy and everything else running as well as it is. Businesses are now shut down, which is actually interesting. Brings me to a point like how businesses are going to start operating now once things open. Are they going to go back, or are they going to now continue to do? I guess they're saving a lot of money not having to make
Hmm.
people or buy employ people when they can do this online.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think about businesses going back and how that's going to look?
So there's two ways I think about it. The first way is I think about stocks because I'm not a big stock person. Like when people were buying the Dodge and the AMC, I didn't do that because I understand when a lot of people were in on it, it goes up and down. And I actually have a friend who's down like thousands of dollars. And that's what happens when you ride the trend, you know. You gotta do the homework. You're talking about money here. So don't just cash out when people say to cash out. So I think about stocks. I think about how beneficial it's going to be for a lot of small businesses, how beneficial it's going to be for businesses who are thriving right now. They're going to go back to that status that they once were at. I could see right now, I could see businesses, I could see honestly a happier economy. I could see people traveling more. I could see people spending more. I honestly see more job opportunities opening up, like retail positions, warehouse positions, restaurant positions. Like, you don't understand how many staff had to get shrunk down, you know, when it first started because they just didn't have the clientele. Everyone was suspect. Is this restaurant COVID safe? And is their delivery process COVID safe? And now you're starting to see that normalization process. So I feel like the economy is going to be happier. 100%. I know I'm going to be happier when I can go into a movie theaters again and have popcorn with random strangers. It's just, that's who we are. It's naturally, that's just, that's us. That's how we thrive.
Mhm,
The second way, um, that I look at it is interesting. You know, like you mentioned, a lot of companies are saving money. I know my fiance's dad has been working from home since they started the whole COVID shutdown in March. He's been working at home since, and he's one of the higher ups. And he was in a manager meeting, and they actually said that they're not going to be reopening their office. You know, they'll be staying working from home. And one is that it's cheaper because their production is, if not better than it was in office. So it's cheaper to not rent out the building that they have, their floor. It's cheaper not to do that. So they're saving thousands of dollars a month on that. And two, you're working from home. So like the liability and all that's a lot, you know, less because there's low risk.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a testament to what we were talking about, I believe, on last podcast of when doors are closed for you, other doors are open. Like
Mm-hmm.
for this is just a perfect example of how things unexpectedly could happen. And at first when COVID hit, it's like, oh my goodness, this is such a
Mm-hmm.
tragedy. Um, there's nothing that's gonna happen, like nothing beneficial is gonna come from this. But now that we're kind of at we've been in this rut for a very long time. We're now starting to see the open doors within
Yeah.
this. Like
Yeah.
like you said, your fiance's dad
Yeah.
is now gonna be making more money
Mm-hmm.
than before. Like
Yeah.
that's really just a testament to showing how it's okay if doors are closed for you, but it'll be open in another way some time down the road. You just got to have faith and trust in what you're doing and continue to work hard.
Yeah. And you think about it too, maybe like I think about like the delivery companies or like DoorDash and Grubhub, like those businesses were semi a thing, but now they just boomed. So, you know, and then I want to say even companies, they have more clientele going through online delivery. You know, it's so natural to go into a restaurant or to a fast food joint and to see just the whole section of pickup delivery, you know, right off the side. It's just like if you go to Starbucks or the Coffee Bean, there's just loads of drinks ready to get picked up through the delivery option. So, you know, again, like when one door closes, another one opens, and oftentimes than not, the door that opens is the better option. It's the one that advances you and brings you to another level of intensity.
Hmm.
And I just feel like the economy is going to be happier when we finally normalize. There's going to be a lot more spending. Just I don't know. I just feel like it's just going to be like a sigh of relief for society. I know less people will be depressed, will be upset. You know, it's hard not seeing your family. It's hard, you know, not being able to go out in peace. Now, really quick, when this whole COVID restrictions lifted, Eric, and there's no 6 foot distancing required, there's no limited capacity, and then this will probably be next year. Will you or will you not be wearing a face mask?
um, I'm not sure. I would like to say that I won't be wearing a face mask, but at the same time, like I don't want to be that reason that somebody else becomes sick.
Mm,
I don't want to have that hang over me. So I'll whatever the CDC says, I'll just go with it. If they say that we are allowed to, then that's what I'll do. But
mm,
as far as like doing anything other than what the CDC says, then I don't want to be that reason that somebody gets sick. Even though like I'm trying not to be like selfish on this. Even
yeah.
though I don't want to, it sucks. I
Mm.
much rather be in person and not have a mask. But at the same time, I don't want to be the reason that somebody's family gets sick and that something bad happens.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely will be. I didn't get sick this last year, so I have to attribute that to wearing a face mask. You know, partly because I don't go on outings,
Mhm.
public outings, so it's a little bit of a give or take there. Um, but that's it for my points. Eric, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just emphasizing on the fact that I guess when you have difficult times or you're under pressure, just know that pressure makes diamonds. Competition is a great thing to have, and even with this whole pandemic, there's positives that come out of it. If you're in a difficult time right now and you're not necessarily seeing the positives and things, and just to know not to worry that things are gonna look up. There's always a positive that comes out of it, whether or not you see it now, whether or not you recognize it. You'll get through it, and it'll show. If you just continue to do everything right each day and not worry about the next day and not worry about the past, just worry about the present and continue to do what you can for the time being, and I guarantee you it'll become positive. You'll find that light, and you'll find those times where you're like, "Oh, now I see why that happened," or now I see the path that was laid for me.
Yeah, I love it. I'm gonna add one more thing, and then I have a cool announcement about one of our social media platforms. But really quick, don't be mad with life. Don't be upset. Don't be miserable if you haven't tried to pursue a solution. When I used to work retail, and I have a recording that I could actually share with you guys, where I think I was being sent home early because it was slow. And I remember, like, almost to the point of crying. I was so mad, not my manager. I understand when it's slow, things have to be done. Um, I remember walking to my car upset, and I was just telling myself, this is why I'm going to college. This is why I'm getting an education, because I don't want to be under the thumb of someone. And I had a right to be mad because I was doing something about it. I hated my job because I was going to school, and I was so, what's the word? Not angry, but I was so I guess angry is the word. I was so angry at the period of life, because I understood it was temporary, and I understood one day I would look back like now and understand that I would no longer be doing that position because I'm doing something about it. Fast forward, I got my degree. I have a full-time position where it's guaranteed 40 hours plus overtime, you know. But like I said, I had a right to be mad because I was doing something about it. So I just want to encourage you guys, don't be mad if you're not doing anything about it. Don't hate your job if you're not looking for another one. If you're not actively applying for a new job, something that you would probably like better than the job you have now, if you're not actively doing that, don't be upset. Don't be upset, because unless you're doing something about it, you have no right to be mad. Be mad all you want as long as you're making a transition forward. Now, did you want to add really quick to that, Eric?
No, I think you said it very well.
Okay, cool. Really quick. So, I don't know why, I don't know how. I only added 3 hashtags to Eric and I's TikTok. For those who are still listening, it's Felix.Vlogs. Eric and I put just a clip, a minute every week of just this podcast. Eric, guess how much views we got on this last clip?
I'm gonna say 200.
No, but let me just tell you one more time. The most views we've ever got on a video was 428,
Oh,
and
wow.
we actually got 690 views in
Wow.
this last clip. 3 hashtags. I usually just do like 15 or 20, and I did 3 hashtags. And for those who are curious, hashtag positive podcast, hashtag the Mindtality podcast, hashtag small wins. So, Eric,
Wow.
can you guess what 3 hashtags I'm going to be adding in this coming video?
I'm gonna go ahead and go with those 3.
Yes, sir. um I have no idea why, you guys, but that just goes to show that if you just be consistent and you keep trying new things, um good things may happen or bad things may happen, but you just want to go with the flow. Believe in something and then run with it.
Yeah, that's the key thing, is believing in it.
Hmm.
Believing in it is the biggest part of it. Once you believe in it, then it'll find a way. You'll find a way for sure.
Exactly. Thank you guys for tuning in again to another week of the Mindtality podcast. Again, I'm your host, Rodolfo Felix,
Co-host Eric, guys.
and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Bye.